Cyber security needs to up its game. Hillary Clinton has accused China of trying to hack into everything that doesn't move in America. And earlier this month, the New York Stock Exchange and the Wall Street Journal were brought down by computer systems failures. Well, Tim Eades is the chief executive of V-Armor, one of the world's leading cyber security companies. And as you can see, he's with us. Tim Eades, what's the biggest challenge facing business today?
It's an amazing time to be in data center security. So the biggest challenge that's going on today is the traditional companies are trying to keep up with the new companies. So the traditional hotel chains are trying to keep up with these new companies like Airbnb. And as they try to transform their data centers to become more digital, you got to become secure as you go agile. So it's a tough time, because you can't see the traffic. So the big challenge is you've got to transform your data center to get competitive, but you've got to make it secure at the same time.
Now, we had a story here in the UK, it probably resonated in America as well, about a dating site. This was actually for people who wanted to commit adultery, but all their data may well be released onto the world in the coming days. There must be other stuff going on, though, in the business-to-business space, which you probably know about and we don't. Now, how bad is the problem? How frequent are serious breakdowns of big systems?
Yeah, so that particular breach is just another example of cyber ransom, right? So cyber ransom, whether it's a movie studio or a government or a social site or a dating site, it's common. It's daily, some of which you hear about, some of which you don't. And it's really amazing. It's quite frustrating at certain times, because people are buying old products, sometimes 20-year-old products, at least 10-year-old products mostly, to try and protect modern data centers and modern applications. So if you think about it, if you're trying to buy old products to solve new wars, it just doesn't work.
So it's shoot the IT guy, is that what you're saying?
No, it's love the IT guy. The IT guy needs some help. I mean, this is a time where he should be reaching out and reaching up. He's got more broad access than ever before, probably more access to money than ever before. And the nice thing about it is things used to be appliances and just old pieces of metal. Now you can do things in software. So if you can help him out, he can deploy things relatively quickly and more efficiently. So love the IT guy, but give him the opportunity to be heard.
Let's bring in Jeffrey Robinson in New York and Armstrong Williams in Washington. Armstrong, you've got multi-million-pound businesses around the world. You must be nervous about this kind of cyber attack.
This is truly a fascinating and intriguing discussion, because Tim, here in the United States, as the host just mentioned, presidential candidate Hillary Clinton is speaking out on this issue. But while she speaks out on this issue, Tim, the president is not willing to blame China or include China in the conversation about the hack of the Office of Personnel Management, but we call it here in the United States other people's mail. Right. And the reason why the United States doesn't want to do that is because it's quite curious, Tim. They don't want to necessarily bring China into the fold, because it would put them in the spotlight of their own cyber activity. And the fact is how they were able to know for certain that China was the one who was responsible for the hacking. And also the United States begrudgingly, think about this, begrudgingly, the people within the investigative units that are responsible for investigating this begrudgingly admire China for what they were able to do, because in the United States, they're trying to do the same.
Yeah, so it's a great point. So it's actually a very interesting point too. So here's the thing. There's no doubt that the US and the UK and some of the parts of the Western world have incredibly advanced cyber weapons and are deep into infrastructure around the world. But the challenge is, if your main perimeters of your national infrastructure and parts of the national infrastructure and parts of the large kind of core enterprises are fundamentally made of Swiss cheese, i.e. full of holes, how hard do you want to throw a stone? Because the fight back could be worse. When 43 to 49% of all U.S. companies were breached last year, how hard do you want to throw that stone? Yeah, you can have the greatest weapons. Yeah, you don't want them to be revealed, but you have to shore up your own footing first. So one of the things that President Obama is doing is pushing along this federation capability to share information, threats, and stuff. That's a good step. It's a first step. It's nowhere near enough, right? Because if you think about it, the defense used to be land, sea, and air. Now it's land, sea, air, and cyber. So you've got to adequately spend that cyber dollar in two ways, offense and defense. And if your offense is heavily invested in, which is great, you still need a good defense. And right now, clearly, not just the government, but also, the U.S. enterprises are, full of holes.
Jeffrey, you've written about criminality in several tomes. Is it always just criminals who are driving this, or do you think it's international cyber warfare is also an issue too?
The answer to that question is yes. International cyber warfare and playing chess, cyber chess with other countries is certainly part of it. The idea of corporate spying is huge. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry to find out. The soft drink manufacturer wants to find out the contracts of the competitors' competing soft drink manufacturer. I mean, everybody's trying to get up on everybody else. But there's something that hasn't been raised that I found in covering this both in the City of London and on Wall Street, and writing about cyber fraud, is that a number of businesses are simply in denial about this. And 2/3, it's a shocking figure, but 2/3 of all cyber frauds in the city and in Wall Street go unreported to the police. Why? Because the chairman doesn't want the board to know more about it. They don't want the stockholders to know. They don't want the public to know. They don't want a court case that'll blow up and make the customers think that they're vulnerable by keeping their money in the bank. It's a horrible situation. So they just want to make it go away. They will pay whatever they have to pay and then bolster up their fortress to make sure it doesn't happen again. It's really shocking. Now, let me say one other thing.
Well, Jeffrey, if they're not scared enough, can we just ask Tim a question? If they're not scared enough now, because let me see if we can worry them into action, shall we? Because, Tim, one of the points you've been making is that it's not just maybe the lone wolf hacker now. This is very sophisticated, and it sort of links into the world of terror, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
That major institutions are being held to ransom by effectively cyber terrorists.
Absolutely right. But, the gentleman's point is dead on, is that, bad guys are getting into networks and they're moving around. And that one of the reasons why, they are scared to come out and tell people what's going on is because they don't know where they've gone, right? I mean, when you get into a network, most enterprises can't see traffic inside their data center. And if you can't see it, you can't protect it. And there's a very fine line as you start to look, the difference between legitimate network traffic and criminal network traffic, because the criminal tries to blend in. So they're very, very sophisticated. They get in and they spread. And when they're in your network, it's like whack-a-mole. You might get them in one corner, but they pop up into another. So disclosing that they're in is interesting. It's like the OPM breach. The first time the OPM breach came out was like 4 million users. Well, then went to 18. I think it ended up in the 30s million users, because they don't know where they got in and they don't know how far they got. So, they do get in, they do move around. People can't see the traffic, and it's a major problem. And ransom is just one aspect. I mean, obviously they're after your intellectual property, and you have to change the way that you can see the traffic, and you have to take the protection, which used to be just at the perimeter, and put it next to the assets that you want to protect.
Okay, we better leave it there for today. Tim Eades, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.